My family forced me to marry my dad's best friend's son to secure our future, but I eloped with the love of my life instead. Now they're blowing up my phone with threats and guilt trips, so I sent them a wedding photo with the caption, "Too late, I chose happiness." I'm Zara, and Logan and I have been a couple for nearly 2 years. Our paths crossed at Andre's casual monthly game night. Those relaxed gatherings where dollar store snacks are plentiful and board games fill the hours. My parents hold traditional values, not the kind with sprawling estates and country club memberships, but rather the type where my dad works tirelessly and my mom meticulously manages every grocery dollar. Their philosophy has always been family first, which usually translates to my dad's word being law. Logan and I have kept our relationship fairly discreet around my family. We aren't exactly concealing it, but we aren't flaunting it either. He attends some family gatherings, brings my mom flowers, which she promptly places in the kitchen, never the living room, and tries to engage my dad in sports talk, usually met with a grunt. Yesterday, I arrived for our typical Sunday dinner. Everything seemed ordinary. Mom was preparing her famous pot roast, stretched to last the entire week. Dad was watching television, and my sister Vera was absorbed in her phone on the couch. Then I noticed additional place settings at the table. "Who else is joining us?" I inquired, assisting Mom with the salad. "Oh, Warren and Dexter will be here," she replied. Warren is my dad's lifelong friend and colleague. I barely know his son Dexter, beyond the fact that he's 27 and also works with them. Dinner began uneventfully. Warren arrived with Dexter, whose button-up shirt still displayed its factory creases. My mom continually served him the prime cuts of meat, all while giving me these odd, knowing glances. Vera kept nudging me under the table, her eyes wide as if privy to some secret. Then, between bites of pot roast and Mom's boxed brownies, my dad cleared his throat. "Zara, Warren and I have been discussing something." That familiar knot of dread began to form in my stomach, the one that signals impending trouble. "Dexter, here is ready to settle down," Warren chimed in, beaming as if he'd just won the lottery. And we thought, what better match than our two families coming together? I nearly choked on my water. "What?" "It makes perfect sense," my dad continued, not even looking at me. "Warren and I are expanding the business. Dexter will eventually take over his father's share. You two would be a suitable pair." I sat there, fork suspended midair, while Dexter stared at his plate, appearing as uncomfortable as I felt. The brownie in my mouth turned to dust. "I'm dating Logan," I stated, voicing what everyone at the table already knew. My mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, darling, that's just a youthful infatuation. We're discussing your future here." "Your mother is right," Dad added. "Logan's a decent enough young man, but he's not going anywhere. Dexter, on the other hand, has a real future in the business." I glanced at Dexter, still captivated by his brownie, not uttering a single word. Warren was grinning like he'd solved world hunger, and my parents looked at me expectantly. "This is ridiculous," I declared. "I'm not marrying Dexter. I love Logan." My dad's face began to flush. "This isn't about love, Zara. This is about family and future." As I headed for the door, I heard my dad's voice. "You have until the end of the month to end things with that boy. We're announcing the engagement at Warren's birthday party." I said nothing else, just grabbed my crossbody bag and left. Logan was already waiting in his car around the corner. We had planned to go to Walmart after dinner to buy some things for his apartment. I got in the car, my hands trembling as I struggled with my seatbelt. That was yesterday. Today, my phone has been inundated with messages from my mom, urging me to be sensible and consider the family. Vera sent me a barrage of WTF texts, followed by warnings that Dad was serious. Even my cousin Ophelia called to confirm if it was true. Logan and I stayed up late last night in his cramped studio apartment, discussing our options. We had actually been planning to move in together when his lease expires next month. Nothing extravagant, just a small 2-bedroom in the same complex as his friend Andre. We've been saving discreetly, but now I'm wondering if we need to accelerate those plans. I've silenced most of my family on my phone, but I can see the message count increasing. The only one I've responded to is Vera, who promised not to tell anyone I'm staying with Logan tonight. I'm unsure what to do next. I care about my family, but this is insane, right? It's 2024, not 1825. Who even considers arranged marriages anymore, especially over something as mundane as a business deal? I need guidance. Logan is supportive but says it's my decision to make. I just know I'm not marrying Dexter, regardless of the future my dad envisions for me. First update. Thank you all for the overwhelming support on my last post. It's been 2 weeks since that surreal Sunday dinner, and I'm writing this from Logan's couch at 1 a.m., stress-eating dollar store, cookies, and trying to comprehend how everything escalated so quickly. Our water heater just broke, and the landlord isn't responding to texts, so this seems like the perfect moment to update you all while waiting for the kettle to heat water for a sink shower. The day after my last post, I waited until my parents were at work and went home to retrieve some essentials. I expected to be in and out, but Vera was home from her community college classes. Between stuffing clothes into my duffel bag, she filled me in on what I had missed. It turns out this whole situation is far more complicated than I initially thought. The truth emerged in fragments. Warren's business is in serious trouble. Dad has also been stressed about money, evident from the kitchen faucet that has been dripping for months. This arranged marriage wasn't just some random traditional values thing. It's about merging the businesses. They want to use my dad's contracts to prevent Warren's company from failing. How romantic, right? Things became even more complicated when I discovered my parents had already placed a non-refundable deposit on a wedding venue. They had booked it for Warren's birthday party, but apparently signed it as an engagement celebration. My mom has been flaunting the contract to everyone as proof that I can't back out now. The venue is some elaborate converted barn that probably costs more than I earn in 3 months. The next few days brought a continuous stream of missed calls and emotional messages. My cousin Ophelia visited Logan with some winter clothes she had borrowed and shared that my mom has been calling everyone in the family, crying about how I'm throwing my life away. The family rumor mill is working overtime. Apparently, Dexter still lives in his parents' basement and spends most of his time playing Fortnite. What a catch I'm supposedly missing out on. Work hasn't been much better. My manager coincidentally reduced my hours after my mom called the store, crying about her troubled daughter. I'm now scrambling to pick up shift swaps just to cover rent. Logan is dealing with his own challenges. His car failed inspection, and the repairs would cost more than the car's worth. Our living situation is difficult. Logan's studio apartment wasn't designed for 2 people. We're constantly tripping over each other, and his downstairs neighbor keeps complaining to the landlord about extra noise. The bathroom sink currently holds my entire skincare routine because there's nowhere else to put it. Last night, I discovered my mascara in the kitchen cupboard next to the ramen noodles. That's the level of organization we're working with here. The financial strain is becoming very real. Between reduced hours at work and unexpected expenses, who knew moving would require so many random purchases? We're both feeling the pinch. I've started selling clothes on Poshmark just to build up some savings. Logan has been picking up odd jobs on TaskRabbit, but it's barely covering the essentials. We've become experts at stretching groceries. Rice and beans have become close companions. The situation hit a new low when I encountered my parents at Walmart while discount shopping. What followed was a scene straight out of a terrible drama. Tears in the cereal aisle, accusations about family loyalty, and vague threats about Warren selling to some large corporation. We just grabbed our essentials and left, but not before Mom noticed the generic brand items in our cart and started crying even harder about how I deserved better than this life. Today's fresh nightmare involved discovering that my parents had apparently been saving for my wedding since I was born. Mom sent photos of the wedding fund passbook, a not-so-subtle reminder of what I'm discarding. The guilt trip came with a side of childhood photos and a screenshot of current wedding venue prices. To make matters worse, our planned apartment fell through. The landlord decided to rent to his nephew instead, so we're back to square one. Logan's lease expires in 2 weeks, and finding an affordable place is proving harder than anticipated. His friend Andre offered us his spare room temporarily, but accepting feels like admitting defeat, especially since Andre lives in his parents' garage conversion and his mom still does his laundry. Logan has been incredibly supportive, but I can tell this is wearing on him too. Yesterday I found him staring at ramen packages with a defeated look that broke my heart a little. The extended family's involvement is the absolute worst part. My phone is constantly buzzing with messages from relatives I barely see, all acting as experts on why I'm making a huge mistake. Vera keeps me updated on the home front. Apparently, Dad is now talking about writing me out of his will, which would be more threatening if there was anything to inherit. When I find myself wavering, I look at Logan, perhaps playing Wordle on his phone or humming while washing dishes, and I know I can't give in. We're not some business merger or assets. These are our lives, even if right now those lives involve sharing a single bath towel because we forgot to grab mine during the Great Escape. For now, we're taking it day by day, apartment hunting during lunch breaks, blocking new numbers as they appear, and trying to figure out our next step. At least we have each other, even if our current date nights consist of comparing rental listings over microwave ramen. Second update. Hey Reddit, some of you might recall my previous post about my parents attempting to arrange my marriage to my dad's best friend's son, Dexter. Well, a lot has transpired in the past week, and I'm writing this from a motel room, at $45 a night, eating leftover pizza and still wearing my $30 Amazon dress. It wasn't exactly the wedding I dreamed about as a child, but honestly, it was perfect in its own peculiar way. The decision to elope came after discovering my parents had started sending out pre-engagement party invitations to that elaborate barn venue they booked. My sister Vera sent me a photo of the invitation. They had even chosen my future married name and everything. That was the absolute breaking point. Logan and I had been discussing marriage anyway, especially since we've been living together for the past few weeks. One night, while sharing a bowl of microwave mac and cheese and observing our neighbor's cat through the window, we've named her Princess, even though she's not ours. We just looked at each other and knew. We planned it for a random Tuesday, not because it was special, but because we both managed to get the day off work, and the courthouse had an opening. Andre, Logan's friend, not my dad's, agreed to be our witness. I bought a simple white dress from Amazon that honestly looked better in the photos, and Logan wore his one good button-down shirt, the one without any wrinkles. The morning of, everything that could go wrong did. The zipper on my dress got stuck. Logan's car made that strange noise again and wouldn't start. We had to take an Uber to the courthouse, splitting the fare 3 ways with Andre because we're all broke. The driver kept asking why we were dressed up, and we just said we had a court appointment. Technically true, right? The ceremony itself probably lasted 10 minutes. The clerk was eating her lunch while processing our paperwork, and there was a man in the corner frantically filling out jury duty forms. Not exactly romantic, but we couldn't stop grinning like idiots. Andre took photos on his phone. Most of them are blurry, but there's one good one where Logan and I are just looking at each other and laughing because I almost dropped the $12 ring we bought. We celebrated at the diner around the corner, splitting a plate of fries and a milkshake, because that's all that was left in our wedding budget. Andre insisted on paying for his own coffee, saying it was his wedding gift to us. The waitress gave us free pie when she found out we'd just gotten married, the first bit of wedding luck we'd had all day. Then came the difficult part, telling people. We decided to do it through a simple Instagram post, just that one good photo Andre took with a casual caption. So we did a thing. The first response was from Ophelia, just a string of crying emojis. Then Vera called, simultaneously laughing and crying. She was happy for us but worried about the fallout, which, well, she was right to be. My mom saw the post while at the grocery store. I know this because she called me from the parking lot, sobbing so hard the cart attendant asked if she needed help. She kept saying things about how she'd never be able to show her face at church again. How could I do this to the family? What about the venue deposit? Dad's reaction came through Vera. Apparently, he threw his phone across the room when he saw the post. Warren, his best friend, immediately drove over to their house. Dexter surprisingly liked our Instagram post and even commented, "Congratulations," which probably didn't help the situation. The extended family response has been a mix of shocked Facebook messages, angry texts, and a few quiet congratulations. My cousin tagged me in a TikTok about ungrateful children, real mature. We're currently lying low in this motel because our apartment application is still processing, and Logan's lease ended yesterday. The room smells like old cigarettes and the Wi-Fi keeps cutting out, but it's our first home as a married couple. We've been watching random YouTube videos on Logan's phone and ordering cheap takeout, making the best of it. The wedding venue called. It turns out my parents tried to cancel my engagement party but still lost the deposit. They're apparently telling everyone I forced them to book it, which is a creative interpretation of events. Money's still tight. We're both picking up extra shifts when we can, and I'm selling more stuff on Poshmark. The apartment we applied for isn't fancy. It's a ground floor, one bedroom with a strange layout and no dishwasher, but it would be ours. The leasing office said they'd let us know by Friday. Vera has been our primary source of news from home. Mom apparently redecorated my old room already, taking down all my photos and everything. Dad is telling everyone at work that I'm going through a phase. Warren's wife keeps trying to arrange a family meeting to fix things. The strangest reaction came from Dexter himself. He sent me a direct message saying he's actually relieved because now he can finally tell his dad about his girlfriend. Apparently, they've been dating for over a year. And she's not just a streamer. She's also a single mom. Warren would definitely not approve. Logan and I are taking it day by day. Sometimes I wake up panicking about everything we've done, but then Logan makes me laugh by trying to cook ramen in our motel room's coffee maker, and I remember why I chose this. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Third update. Sometimes truth arrives in the most unexpected ways. In my case, it came through a stack of water-damaged papers I found while helping Vera clean out our flooded basement after last week's storm. The basement incident occurred when Vera called, asking for assistance. Mom and Dad were at some church fundraiser, and she was panicking about water seeping in. Logan and I drove over to help save what we could. While moving boxes to higher ground, I found Dad's old filing cabinet had tipped over, scattering papers everywhere, mostly soaked. As we were sorting through what could be salvaged, I found something interesting. Loan documents, many of them, all with Warren's signature and my dad as guarantor. The dates stretched back years, small loans at first, then larger ones. The most recent was from just before this whole marriage mess started. Some had final notice stamps. Others had payment schedules with missed check marks. It was like looking at a timeline of Warren's business slowly declining. But here's where it gets strange. Mixed in with the loan papers were printed emails between Dad and some large development company. They were interested in purchasing both businesses, Dad's and Warren's, but only if they came as a package deal. The offer was actually decent enough to clear all the debts, and then some. The catch? They wanted proof of stable succession planning. Essentially, they weren't buying unless they knew the businesses would remain unified long-term. That's where Dexter and I came in, the perfect solution to demonstrate the businesses would be family-run for years to come. While we were still processing this, Vera found more papers. It turns out Warren had been concealing how bad things were from everyone, including his wife. He'd mortgaged their house twice without telling her. My dad had co-signed everything, probably thinking Warren would eventually turn things around. The real kicker, a draft of a contract dated just before the whole marriage proposal. Warren had already started selling off equipment to cover payments. Dad was about to lose everything he'd built over 20 years because he trusted his best friend. I took photos of everything before the water could completely destroy them. I sent them to Dexter too. He deserved to know. His response was simply, "Well, that explains the rush." Apparently, his dad had been pressuring him to settle down for months, even tried to break him up with his girlfriend. The next day, Ophelia came over to our apartment, bringing housewarming ramen because that's our ritual now. She had more news. Warren's wife found out about the second mortgage and has moved in with her sister. Dexter finally told everyone about his girlfriend and her child and moved in with them. Warren is staying with his brother, supposedly to give her space, but probably because she changed the locks. Dad still won't speak to me directly, but he's been asking Vera peculiar questions about my new place. Like if I'm eating enough. Mom switched from angry Facebook posts to sharing missing my daughter memes, which I suppose is progress. Yesterday, I received a text from Warren. "I'm sorry. I haven't responded yet, and I'm not sure I will." Logan has been incredible through all of this. He doesn't say much about it. He just holds me when I need it and makes terrible jokes when I get too serious. Last night, he tried to lighten the mood by suggesting we could start our own business. Something simple. Maybe selling those tiny hats for cats online. We're doing okay. The apartment is slowly coming together. We found a real bed frame on Facebook Marketplace yesterday. Our upstairs neighbor's child practices trumpet at 7 a.m. every day, but we're getting used to it. I'm picking up extra shifts at work, and Logan started doing food delivery on weekends. It's not glamorous, but the bills are being paid. Vera says Dad has been in his garage a lot lately, probably trying to figure out what to do next. The development company withdrew their offer when the merger fell through. She overheard Mom telling her friend on the phone that they might have to sell the house, the one they've lived in since before I was born. Part of me feels guilty, even though I know none of this is truly my fault. Another part is angry that they tried to use my life to fix their business problems. Mostly, I'm just exhausted by the whole situation. Last update. I wasn't planning on posting again, but I just had the most surreal Thanksgiving experience, and I thought you all might want to know how things turned out after the whole arranged marriage drama. First off, Logan and I are still in our tiny apartment. We finally got a real bed frame, goodbye air mattress, and the neighbor kid has moved on from trumpet to drums. Progress. The upside is we discovered our other neighbor works at a furniture outlet, so we got a slightly damaged couch for practically nothing. It has a strange stain that sort of resembles Danny DeVito if you squint, but it's comfortable. The biggest change occurred about 2 months ago. Mom started sending these odd thinking of you texts, usually late at night when she was watching those emotional videos on Facebook. Then she asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, mostly because I was tired of avoiding her at the grocery store. We met at that diner where Logan and I had our wedding reception. She cried into her coffee, I awkwardly stirred my tea, and somehow we ended up having an actual conversation. It turns out Dad's business survived, barely. They had to downsize, sell some equipment, and move to a smaller office, but they're managing. Warren's company wasn't as fortunate. Speaking of Warren, he and his wife are officially separated. She ended up with the house, remember those secret mortgages? He's still living with his brother, who apparently has started charging him rent. Dexter is doing surprisingly well. He moved in with his girlfriend and her child, started streaming on Twitch himself, and actually makes decent money doing it. His mom told my mom he seems happier than he's been in years. He and Logan even game together sometimes, which is weird, but kinda nice. Dad took longer to come around. The breakthrough came when our car broke down again. Seriously, this thing is held together by hope and duct tape at this point. Logan was attempting to fix it in the apartment parking lot when Dad just appeared. Vera had mentioned it to Mom, who mentioned it to Dad, and, well, he didn't say much, just started helping with the car. Now they have this strange thing where they text each other car maintenance videos. Dad still barely talks to me directly, but he'll send Logan links to auto parts on sale. Baby steps, I guess. Thanksgiving was the true test. Mom had been hinting for weeks that we should come. I was hesitant, but Logan pointed out that free food is free food. We're still on a tight budget, so we went. It was awkward. So incredibly awkward. Aunt Alice kept making pointed comments about unconventional life choices. Uncle Bob pretended we weren't there, but Vera and Ophelia ran interference like champions, and Mom actually placed our wedding photo on the mantle right next to that terrible school picture of me from 7th grade with the braces and butterfly clips. The surprise guest was Warren's ex-wife. Apparently, she and Mom are still friends. She brought this amazing sweet potato casserole and spent most of dinner telling everyone about her journey of self-discovery and her new hobby. Dad looked like he wanted to vanish into his mashed potatoes. The real highlight was when cousin Andre, not Logan's friend Andre, keep up, announced his engagement. Everyone immediately started planning this huge wedding, discussing venues and flowers and whatnot. Mom caught my eye across the table and actually winked. Progress. Our apartment is still small, but we've made it home. The ring finally turned my finger green, but I kind of like it. It matches our aesthetic. Logan's car is still making that noise, but we're saving up for a new one, slowly, very slowly. Work is work, nothing exciting, but we're both managing. Logan started taking some online courses and computer stuff. I'm thinking about it too. But for now, I'm just trying to pick up extra shifts when I can. Vera comes over a lot, usually with food from Mom. I think she's Mom's spy sometimes, reporting back about whether our apartment is clean or if we're eating vegetables. But she also brings gossip about Warren and Dexter. His girlfriend's child now calls him Papa D.